Hey guys, it's Drew again. I wanted to share a story of something that happened when I was a young person, and it's about the only Hall of Famer that I ever met outside of like at a show or something like that. And it all encompasses with one of the most fun, memorable days I ever had regarding to watching baseball. So back when I was a teenager, I went to a Mets game. I grew up outside of New York, and I went to a Mets game with a friend of mine, and his dad was kind of a bigwig, and they were Dodger fans, and I was a Met fan at the time. And we went, and his dad had, or the company that his father worked for, had box seats right behind the visitors' dugout. And anytime the Dodgers would come into town, we would go and or they would go and go to a game. Well, this one time, they invited me to go, so it was the only time I got to go with them. Anyway, we were about the third row back, right behind the Dodgers dugout, and I mean, this was great seats. And I had been to many games before, but I had never had such great seats before. And what I remember, the first thing was when the lineups exchange happened. Tommy Lasorda, the manager for the Dodgers, walked out to home plate. Exchanged the lineup cards with the umpires and the other manager. And as he's walking back, he looks up into the stands and he sees my friend's father and says, "Hey Tony, how are you?" And I was like, "You know Tony Lasorda?" And sure enough, they were friends. I don't know the connection outside of that, but it was just really cool to see that connection of somebody like that. Anyway, as the game went on, we had a great time, and I'm not. It's not important about what the game. It was just being there, being with friends, and having a great time. Well, what had happened was, is after the game, we went out to eat somewhere. It was a local restaurant and around Shea Stadium. And when we were going to the restaurant, we actually, it was upstairs in a building, and we were in an elevator. I remember this very distinctly, and it was me and my friends and his dad, or their dad. And as we're in the elevator, my friend's dad kind of elbows me, and he like goes like this, and I looked over, and standing next to us in the elevator was longtime New York Mets broadcaster and Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner. And I knew who Ralph Kiner was because I watched games my whole life, listened to him on the radio, a long time announcer, and I was like, no, he's right here. And, you know, he's kind of like, go say something to him, but I didn't. Anyway, we go in and we get our table and we're sitting. Well, sure enough, Ralph Kiner went into the same restaurant, and this is post game. He's sitting there, and he's a few tables over. And through talking about it, like, I can't believe he's there or whatever, my friend's dad said, just go ask for his autograph. So I didn't have anything to sign on, but what I did was I actually had the program from that game, and I took it over to him, and I just said, "Mr. Kreiner, could you sign this for me?" He said, "Absolutely." Looked up, signed it for me. So here's the program from that day, and you can see Ralph Kiner signed it right there. And so that's the only time I ever met a Hall of Famer outside of a show or anything like that. It was just super cool. But I'll talk about Ralph Kiner for a second. And, you know, love vintage stuff, so I want to show a vintage car. This is from my 1953 set. So Ralph Kiner is a very kind of a unique Hall of Famer. He was definitely a slugger. He only played 10 seasons, but out of the 10 seasons, he led or tied for the lead in home runs in 7 out of those 10 seasons. And he was just a beast. When he came up, one of the people that helped teach him how to hit deep basically was Hank Greenberg. As Greenberg had gone on to the Pirates, played with the Pirates at the end of his career, and he taught him how to be a slugger. And Ralph Kiner was, and he hit long, high, towering home runs, and just a superstar. And the phrase, actually wasn't him that said it, but a lot of people coin it to him, although it's not credited to him officially, was, home run hitters drive Cadillacs, singles hitters drive Fords. And that was kind of talked to about Ralph Kiner. But Ralph Kiner, one of the things about him was he only played for 10 seasons, and he had a lot of back issues, and he ended up retiring young, but he ended up with, I think, 369 home runs over a 10-year career. So he averaged almost 37 home runs his entire career, which is it's just incredible. And you think if he didn't have the back issues, if medicine was more of what it was, if he continued that kind of pace through his 30s, because he retired at 32, where would he have ended up? But he ended up going into the Hall of Fame in 1975. But one of the other amazing things about him was he started broadcasting when the New York Mets was founded in 1962, and he was a broadcaster with the Mets the entire time from the Mets inception in '62 until he passed away in 2014. So that's a huge long time. People talk about Vin Scully with the Dodgers, and I'm not comparing the two. Vin Scully is in a different level. However, Kiner was there for a long time, and as someone who grew up outside of New York, and if any of you guys grew up in that kind of area, you know Ralph Kiner, his voice, Kiner's Corner, and all that kind of stuff. And back before he passed away in 2012 to 2014, that's when really I was doing a lot of TTM stuff, and I sent off a baseball to get signed through the mail with Ralph Kiner, and he signed it for me, and there it is. So still had a great signature. He was in his late 80s. Actually, he was about 90 when he signed this. I do remember reading something where in the website that I used about Kiner, that if you send him a card, to give him instructions to take the card out of the top loader, or whatever you sent it, because there were times where people got it back and he just signed the top loader and then sent it back. So I think that's kind of funny. But anyway, so Ralph Kiner, so I have 2 autographs of him, one through the mail, one in person, and you can see, over 20 years there was a change. He definitely was older, a little more shaky. But I just wanted to tell the quick story about the only time I ever met a Hall of Famer, and just kind of the impact he had on me as a kid growing up, listening to him as a broadcaster for the Mets. So anyway, hope you enjoy the story, and until next time, you guys be good.